It's not required, and that's also if you can find a test. These people on this line behind me, they're trying to get one of those tests at one of 8 locations here in Tarrant County, and what they're finding is not good. The positivity rate here in Texas is more than 33%. Omicron is omnipresent. The CDC announcing today it now makes up an estimated 95% of all cases nationwide. Dr. Peter Hotez with the Baylor College of Medicine says Omicron may not be as severe as Delta, but it is spreading faster.
Well, it clearly is more contagious, more transmissible, and it looks like it's reaching levels that almost approximate measles, which is really the most common, highly transmissible virus agent we know. What we'll see is this wave of Omicron will ultimately be as serious and dangerous as previous waves.
As new COVID cases topped 1 million, COVID hospitalizations reach more than 100,000 nationwide. Numbers on par with last summer's Delta surge. And now, COVID cases in kids are higher than at any point in the pandemic. Only 33% of kids 5 to 17 are fully vaccinated. More than 325,000 pediatric cases were reported for the week ending December 30th. And hospitalizations are at the highest they've ever been, 672 a day, a 114% increase since last week, all as kids head back to school. Dr. Mary Suzanne Whitworth of Cook Children's in Fort Worth, Texas, has watched as more kids are admitted to her hospital, a majority of them unvaccinated.
Over the last 2 weeks, they've tripled and quadrupled in numbers. It's been a rapid rise.
The number of patients isn't the only concern. The surging number of cases means healthcare workers are also getting infected and can't report to work.
And that's the danger point of Omicron, is that 1-2 punch of people still coming into hospitals and not enough healthcare providers to take care of them.
With the holiday weekend over, people from California to Texas to New York are waiting in long lines to take a rapid or PCR test, if they're available.
I spent 2 days trying to find a place.
Because of surging cases, more than 215 school districts across the country have switched over to remote learning. In Chicago, there might not be any classes tomorrow if the teachers union votes tonight to refuse to go to work in person. Nora, that is the nation's 3rd largest school district.
Omar Villafranca with all those details. Thank you. Well, President Biden addressed the American people today amid the unprecedented surge in COVID cases, and he said the federal government is investing more into the fight. CBS's Ed O'Keefe is at the White House with the new details.
With millions of kids heading back to school this week and several 100,000 starting remote learning, President Biden weighed in.
We have no reason to think at this point that Omicron is worse for children than previous variants. We know that our kids can be safe when in school, by the way. That's why I believe schools should remain open.
To deal with the spike in Omicron cases nationwide, the president said he would double the purchase of Pfizer's antiviral pill from 10 million to 20 million, with the first half available by June. It's proven 89% effective at preventing severe illness and death.
They're a game changer and have the potential to dramatically alter the impact of COVID-19.
But the administration still gets low marks on how it's handling the pandemic. A persistent concern is access to testing.
Everyone sold out a test till Saturday. I called around, so it's hard to even find somewhere to go.
I spent 2 days trying to find a place.
I know this remains frustrating. Believe me, it's frustrating to me.
There is a sense among many that the country has lost control of the virus. Would the White House agree with that?
We would not. We're in a very different place than we were a year ago, Ed. 200 million people are vaccinated. We have also just purchased the largest over-the-counter purchase of tests in history, 500 million tests.
But the details of that bulk purchase of tests won't be sorted out for a few more weeks, meaning it could be several more after that until Americans get those tests, as long lines for tests persist nationwide. Nora?
Ed O'Keefe, thank you. Well, tonight there's some good news after an epic travel nightmare on one of the busiest corridors in America. After a dire 27 hours, Virginia transportation officials say the road is clear of drivers and no one is stuck on I-95. CBS's Errol Barnett has all the latest reporting.
We've been in the car for about 17, going on 18 hours.
This was the nightmare on I-95. I have never been this frightened on the road before.
40 miles of Virginia interstate came to a standstill after more than a foot of snow blanketed the region.
There is nothing moving on Interstate 95. It is a parking lot.
Among them, Virginia Senator and former Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine, stranded for over 26 hours.
The only thing I ate was one orange, and the only liquid I had was one 16-ounce Dr. Pepper.
It's been 21 hours.
Stephanie Rodriguez kept her 6 and 11-year-olds warm by covering them in clothes packed in their luggage.
The handles of my car were all ice. It was really scary.
Officials blame heavy rain that fell ahead of the intense snow, preventing them from treating the highway. By 2 a.m. today, the road was completely shut down. There were no reports of any deaths or injuries, but elsewhere there were 5 storm-related deaths, including 2 children who died when trees crushed their homes in Georgia and Tennessee. Hundreds of thousands of Virginia customers are still without power. And more than 4,600 flights have been canceled since Monday, in part due to the storm.
Found a flight from American to get to Chicago today and then jump back on United coming to D.C. so we can get a car and drive to Richmond. But apparently the roads are shut down.
Now, tonight, Virginia officials report all stranded passengers along I-95 have in fact been rescued, but a major portion of the freeway south of where I am in Springfield remains closed, so workers can extract and remove the more than dozen stranded and abandoned vehicles there. So, Nora, it may just be a few more hours before the entire stretch of this key highway for the Mid-Atlantic is fully reopened.
I mean, what a story. Errol Burnett, thank you. Well, just 3 days before former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo was set to appear in court to answer the misdemeanor charge that he forcibly touched an aide, the charge has been dropped. CBS's Drika Duncan explains what happened.
The latest criminal investigation into former Governor Andrew Cuomo has come to an end. The Albany County District Attorney's Office found the accuser, Brittany Commisso, to be cooperative and credible, but said after review of all the available evidence, we have concluded that we cannot meet our burden at trial. Back in August, Commisso, a former executive assistant to then Governor Cuomo, publicly accused him of groping her in an office in the executive mansion.
He put his hand up my blouse and cupped my breast over my bra.
Cuomo was scheduled for his first court appearance this Friday to face the charge of forcible touching. CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman.
The fact that it was dismissed by the district attorney, despite the credibility of the accuser, is monumental news.
But Cuomo maintained he never touched anyone inappropriately. He stepped down shortly after a report was released accusing him of sexually harassing multiple women.
The best way I can help now is if I step aside.
The Albany DA is now the 4th prosecutor to decide not to pursue charges against Cuomo.
Do you think the outcome of this case discourages other alleged sexual assault victims out there?
I have no doubt that other women who will be sexually assaulted and have legitimate claims may just feel it is useless to go forward.
Cuomo's attorney says she has no comment. As for Brittany Commisso's attorney, he says that his client will continue to seek justice through civil action. Nora?
Drika Duncan, thank you. Well, there's breaking news tonight from here in Washington. Congressional investigators looking into the deadly assault on the U.S. Capitol want to talk to Fox News host Sean Hannity about his communications with former President Trump and his top advisors on the day of the attack. Also today, 3 more police officers sued the former president for their physical and emotional scars from that day. 1 year later, CBS's Chris Van Cleve looks at the toll on the Capitol Police Force.
Almost 1 year on, the U.S. Capitol Police Department is still recovering and changing its tactics in an increasingly violent political climate. Chief Tom Manger.
Could a January 6th happen again? The short answer is I don't believe so. But there could be a situation where something unexpected happens that we're not prepared for. We've got to be in a posture where we think of everything and that we try and prepare for everything.